about the showbiz or the cool kids sitting in the corner like they're hiding away from the way they used to fall in love with someone new every Saturday. I want you bad like they say in every cliche song about teenage love. Just a few.
Hi, welcome to the My Two Tips podcast. This is episode 49, and I have no idea what today's episode is going to be like. No idea. So I have been fairly busy, I guess, over the last 2 weeks. So there's been some knitting that has gotten finished. I have pulled out a different fiber craft, which has been a lot of fun. I played with the lights in here today, so hopefully the episode looks decent. I really cannot tell how focused we are or not. My camera doesn't do the autofocus thing, so we just have to deal with what we have. But I guess we should probably just get into things. Let's talk about the pillow cow. The A-along. So the A-along is fully underway. Today is December 4th. I technically cast on yesterday, the other day. I've decided to do the A block, at least on the front of my pattern. I'm not entirely sure if I'm going to do something different for the back, but I've run into a little snafu with my yarn and needle choice. So I've done the bottom seed stitch section, and I think it could be a little tighter, which ultimately means I need to go down a needle size, which I don't really want to. I really want to use my Indian, what are they? My Indian like artisan straight needles for them, because I think it would just be really fun and kind of commemorates a few things together as I'm knitting on the pillow. We'll see what happens. I've also debated knitting a small tiny pillow, which obviously wouldn't work for the cow, and making it like a little Christmas tree ornament. I think that'd be super fun. Maybe I'll get that done. And I mean sock yarn scraps or whatever you have, like depending on your gauge. I'm sure if you follow the chart and the numbers, you'll just get a different size pillow depending on what the heck you're doing. So that cow is being hosted by a plethora surplus of Canadian podcasters from the west coast to the east coast of Canada. And we're all running our individual little mini cows, which are going from December 1st to February 28th. And all you have to do for that is use the A block as a minimum from the Canadian A Afghan booklet. That A block is available as an individual download on Ravelry. If you search for GNC, like GC Designs, they should come up and you should be able to find it there. Hopefully I have linked things. Other than that, that's the only real like official cow I have going on. The Hamilton pullover has been finished. I highly encourage anybody who wants to knit it to just go ahead and cast it on. I haven't heard from anybody else if they're planning on doing like an official Hamilton cow, but if you want to wait and cast it on and see if somebody does host one, by all means, feel free. I just couldn't wait. I needed an easy knit and I kind of love it. But I have to talk to you about this sweater because I have an issue. And as I've been talking for the last few minutes, you've probably seen I've still got ends hanging out. I haven't woven in a single end. So take a sip of cold milky tea. And I'm gonna get up here. Body, I'm just wearing some leggings. I don't think I knit it. Oh yeah, right. So in the pattern, I think I was talking about this last time, it is supposed to have a lower back than it does at the front. I knit mine to be even. It's not as oversized on me, which tends to happen a lot when I knit sweaters, just because of my body shape, but I like the way the top fits. It's a nice open neckline without being like too open. And I like the way the shoulders and arms kind of fit. Definitely that drop shoulder kind of style, but look, they're long. Are they too long? Like when I kind of scooch them up a little bit, they're not the worst. But does it look like too much extra fabric? Do they look okay with like the ribbing of the cuffs rolled up? I guess they don't look bad. Advice? Suggestions? I think I might end up wearing them with them rolled up quite a bit. They don't look horrible. Now I'm kind of really upset that I haven't woven in the end. Whatever, it's fine. I think the color has also looked really good when I've been wearing it because there is like the textured stitch all over it. Like it kind of breaks up any little bit of pooling. But the Hamilton pullover is from the, oh shoot, is it the Home and Away pattern book that was a collaboration between Heidi Kiermaier and Jose Paquin. And I believe they debuted it at Knit City this past October. I did not purchase the book, I just purchased the individual pattern. And I really, really like it. It is a worsted weight sweater, so I'm kind of heating up a little bit, but it's okay. I just want to make sure, whatever, the focus is what it is. But I used the sweet fiber that I picked up at Knit City, and it's the Cashmerino worsted base. It is so soft and squishy. It is so snuggly, but I'm a little warm. I don't have a problem typically being warm. Like, I guess I'm fairly hot-blooded. I'm totally doing that like cliche candles on kind of thing, but I don't think they're adding that much heat to the room. I'm not like super bundled up. I haven't been super active this morning. I went to the dentist. Like that's the most I did this morning. So it's a warm sweater. I'm excited that when the weather turns that much colder, or if I'm going outside, can pop this under a jacket that doesn't have to be a super heavy jacket, and I will be super comfy and toasty. I really, really like the way the top portion of this sweater has like the ribbing on that deep V. I really, really like it. I think it adds, excuse me, a very architectural element to it. I had 6 skeins of this yarn, and I used up almost every bit of it. I don't know what I did with my actual little nugget of leftovers, but I actually had to undo my swatch when I got into the sleeves because I was running pretty low. And I don't know if my gauge has changed since I swatched for it or since I finished the body. I don't know what happened, but I think I should have had more than enough yarn. So I'm a little, just beware if and when you knit it, have enough yarn. Make sure if it says like, oh, you know, when you do your little calculation or whatever for, let's say 1,350 yards, which don't quote me on it, but if the yarn you've chosen says you're going to need like 5¼ skeins, make sure you have the full 6 just for insurance. I mean, if you don't end up using your extra skein, depending on where you've gotten it from, you can probably exchange it for a different color, maybe store credit, make something else out of it, make somebody a really scrumptious hat, whatever it is. But just, I hate getting to the point where I'm questioning my yarn and whether or not I'll have enough to finish the project. It really, really doesn't sit well with me. But I do have a finished sweater. It's all okay. Things will be fine. As for other things that I have finished, I have 2 hats to show you. Because I don't think I showed this to anybody yet, podcast-wise. So the other week, I think it was 2 weeks ago, I went to a knit night and I cast on this hat. Just prior to going, I literally think I had the tiny bit of ribbing and maybe an inch or 2 done. Like, I didn't take long to knit at all. The color is pooling in it a little funny, but I love this. This is the Blue Sky Alpaca American Scenic in the North Shore colorway, which I thought was just kind of funny. I picked this yarn up a few months ago, and I think it was when I found out that like my gallbladder surgery was going to take forever to even just get a date, and I was like, I need to buy some yarn. So I did, and I bought this very squishy skein, which is something crazy. It is 50% US alpaca, 30% US merino, and 20% silk. It's limited edition, so I'm not entirely sure even if my local yarn store still has it. This would be a scrumptious sweater. I love it so much. I'm gonna have to take some really up close shots and try and get, there's the slightest pink, I don't even want to say undertone to the yarn, but there is in the North Shore colorway. There's one, I think it had a slightly darker charcoal that kind of ran through it, and one that had more of like a blue that ran through it. So it's really nice. The pattern came free with the purchase of the yarn, and I believe it is called the East Bethel hat. I have to try and relink it to my pattern page because I was trying to link a non-existent pattern, I think. But it is so easy. It is like the simplest hat I've knit ever. Size US 10.5 needles, which is like a 6.5 millimeter or something like that, I think. So you use 1 needle for the whole thing. There's a tiny bit of ribbing. The decreases are super simple. And it fits so wonderfully. I really like it. I had a little nugget left over, which kind of ticked me off because I wanted to use as much of it as possible. And I've worn it quite a bit a few times. I haven't even blocked it because I don't really want to. I have knit, so this is the hat that I knit when I was back home. This is yarn I purchased from, oh shoot, the Rose Haven, here we go, the Rose Haven yarn shop in Picton. I'll make sure I confirm that later. I think it's Picton. Not so good with that area of Ontario. However, this is Black River Yarn and Fiber, and they are from Ontario. This is a 50-50 marine, no. Eyes aren't working well today. It's a 50-50 wool and alpaca that are each grown in Ontario. The wool is grown in Camden East, and the alpaca is grown in Madoc. So really, really fun. I don't know where they mill it, but they mill it in Ontario as well. And it's organically dyed, or naturally dyed, in Tweed, Ontario, which is kind of fun. So this is their harvest base. It is a worsted weight. There's about 150 yards to 100 grams. This is the Merlot colorway, which I really, really like. I added a kind of heavily edited photo to Instagram with this hat on it, just to kind of show the textures that much more. I don't think it's as deep of a color as it's coming up on the camera. Maybe I'll take some better pictures. The pattern I used a pattern that's not quite been released yet, but I didn't do it the same all the way. I put in my own cables, and I don't even know if I'm going to keep this hat in because I don't know if it does the yarn quite enough justice. I might just change it to a 2x2 rib hat. But I do really like it. It's like super cozy. I don't usually put it on my head with my hair up. I haven't washed this one yet either, or blocked it, which will probably change things a little bit about it, but I do really like it. I didn't think I'd be such a huge alpaca lover, but I do really like it. I picked it up in a few things recently, so this hat was very easy to knit. The only thing that has stopped me from washing it so far is the fact that when I was knitting, there's a little bit of excess dye coming out on my fingers, and a little bit kind of coming out onto, I guess, the couch as I was knitting it. Like there was just some extra little red fluffs and stuff. But this is an entire skein. I knit the whole skein into it. I think I knit most of it, and then I ended up ripping out the decreases and redoing some length, and just, this is a whole skein. Because I figured chances are I wouldn't do much else with like a tiny little leftover, so it was nice to know that just by making it longer and having like that double folded up brim, it still fits quite nicely. And I really like the crown decreases on this one. But yeah, super lovely. Really enjoyed knitting it. Like I was happy to have picked up the yarn when I was back home and had something to knit with. Luckily I had needles that worked. I think I used the US 8s, 5mm, I'm pretty sure. And trying to remember if I knit it magic loop or if I knit it in the round. I don't really remember what needles I had on me when I was home, but regardless, basic simple 2x2 hat with some cables that I just kind of threw in there. But I'm thinking, opinions? Suggestions? We'll see. But yeah. let's move on to works in progress. I have cast on a pair of mittens. These are the Cabot mittens. They're moose mittens, of course. And I am using the Rowan Fine Tweed. And it's the colors. So my main color is the purpley tweed. And it is called Settle is the colorway. It's a number as well, but they do actually have names associated to them. And then this one is Arncliffe, which is just kind of a medium creamy taupe light browny beige color. But so the colors I'm using, they come in little 25-gram balls. I am obsessed with this stuff. I really love it. And I think most yarn stores still carry it. I think there was something a while ago that they might have been discontinuing colors and not the actual yarn itself, I think. So this is my mitten. I haven't worked on it in a few days. I've just kind of let it sit there. And everything's all twisted. I'm using my ChowGoo interchangeable twist mini set on a 2.25mm needle. I could have probably gone up to the 2.5mm needle, but I didn't. They do fit, or it does fit. That's the back. There's the thumb gusset is done. The thumb is on waste yarn. This is the left hand. Does fit. It's feeling a little bit tight right now, but I think it's because, like, I hope it's because the thumb stitches are still technically on the needle, and there's only like been 3 rows knit after I cast on like that little bit that goes behind the thumb. Because in through the thumb itself, I still feel like there's room, so I think it'll be fine. Because the wrist is definitely got some room, a little bit, which does not bother me at all, because they're a little bit longer, but they'll definitely fit under sweater cuffs or a coat cuff. But that's super fun. I jumped on the bandwagon the other evening with the whole mitten thing because everybody is knitting mittens. There is definitely a ton of people knitting Ellie of Skeindier's Selbu Mitten Club mittens. I think she even did a mystery like advent kind of mitten in a sense, like it's being released prior to Christmas with the hopes that you can finish the pair before Christmas Day, I believe. I can't remember the designer's name of this, but this was gifted to me from a lovely friend, which I thought was super fitting. You know, knit them on around the holidays and think about like connections and things like that. So it's been fun. I haven't even printed out the charts. I've just been working on them from my computer, but I think that's probably going to have to change because, I don't know, staring at computer screens isn't always great. But I'm really liking them. They're really fun. And again, magic loop. What the frick? I hate magic loop. But for certain things, they work, you know? One thing I am being cautious of is when I come to, like, the split of the needle. I'm making sure that my secondary color doesn't have too many stitches before being caught, just because like going around the magic loop thing with too many or not enough stitches close together with the color would just be kind of awkward. I'm using the Philosopher Wools method again, And the way that I do it, you don't end up seeing the pattern as much because I end up wrapping my yarn in a sense more frequently, I think. I like it. It creates a nice, dense, but warm fabric, and I need some more mittens. My hands are getting cold these days, so walks to work with a herd of moose on my mittens. So excited. A few weeks ago, Megan Nodecker, who is Pip and Pin on Instagram, knit Pip and Pin on Ravelry, and she is the host of the Pip and Pin podcast. She released a Afterthought Everything sock tutorial, how to kind of video recipe thingamabobber. I decided to join in. So I have a few things. The first one I cast on, because yeah, I'm crazy, I've done two. I'm doing two. The first one I cast on is this one. The tube is done. I'm ready to cut everything. It is out of yarn that I dyed myself, my spooky Halloween playbook, spellbook. Here we go. Which is just so much fun. And I did it a little differently. So I started with a Judy's Magic cast on 2 needles and kept the one needle. Ooh, shiza. There we go. This one little green end stopper that I have keeps falling off and it's driving me bonkers. But anyway, I kept the needle in on the top so that when I have to do the afterthought part, the needle's already in there for the calf. Thought it was ingenious. Down here will actually end up being a toe, so I think I'm going to leave that in there as well. I'll end up cutting in theory, I feel like it works. Think about this whole following through thing with this afterthought business that is making my head hurt. So this is a sock I knit, I don't know, 2 years ago. And the leg length doesn't matter on a sock. I don't care how long my legs are. Did a fish lip kiss heel. And I know that after I finish the heel, I need anywhere from 68 to 70 rows depending on the yarn and my gauge at the time. So from about, let's see if we can do this, from about here to where I start toe is 68 to 70 rows depending on the combination. I think in theory, because at the bottom of my sock I have not knit the toe, if I count back the 68 rows, cut my heel on the 69th row, I'm left with 68 rows for my foot. I believe that is right. This looks ridiculous, but I do love these socks. So that's kind of where my head is going. I don't rely on inch measurements very often because I feel like rulers, they just don't always tell the same thing. Yes, an inch is an inch on a ruler. I think one of the things maybe I need to buy is an actual little, like a mini real metal ruler. I haven't. I meant to look for one this past week, but it just didn't end up happening, so But with that being said, if I were to measure 4 inches on a sock on my one leg, like lying it on my leg and measuring it, there's things that can come into play. Like, did I stretch it a little bit before I measured it? Did my leg make it warp in a different way that stretched it out differently? Too many contributing factors to end up with different measurement results that I want these socks to fit. I don't want them to not fit as much as possible. Okay, so card got full, had to delete some stuff off of there because I guess I didn't do it last time. The second one that I've cast on is also with hand-dyed yarn that I dyed. This is maple syrup in my coffee, and this is what I have. So fun. So this one I'm doing a little bit differently. I cast on the cuff, and then I just went straight into the leg. So I think what I am planning is to knit all the way down the toe. That's my plan. Because I think then I'll end up cutting, I'll have to knit one toe, one cuff, and everything will stay in the same like knitting direction. I have not decided whether or not I will do contrasting heels and toes. I don't know. In terms of how this is working, I think it'll work quite fine. I'm knitting it on a different size needle because the other pair I knit on a 2.25 millimeter needle. This is on a 2.0. I feel like it still has tons of stretch, whereas this one has more. Because again, gauge, and mine is still being super wonky when it comes to socks. But maybe with this whole method, I don't know, maybe it'll just end up different. But yeah, so that is my second pair of socks for the ATES cow, which is the Afterthought Everything's cow. And Megan is hosting that in her podcast group. Oh, goodness. What else have I got going on here? I have cast on another sweater. I don't have very much of it done because this sweater is very brain heavy, let's say. At least it is for me right now. This is really dark, not showing up accurately at all. So like that whole Erin Moore light in the red colorway, which is Ari. It's the Ruari colorway, which looks black from back here, but it's not black. It's definitely a deep, like brick burgundy red. Love it. So if it's familiar to any of you, or kind of is maybe like jogging some memory bells, I have cast on the Quenelle sweater. It is a bottom up open front cardigan. I have it on a super small needle, which means you can't see really any of it. However, I've done like an inch and a half. So this pattern is by Pip and Pin, which is just kind of suiting. And I fell beyond in love with it at Knit City. Like I fell in love with this one at Knit City too, but this one is different. So the Quenelle sweater is like a huge, oversized, cozy cardigan. And it's got textures galore. The one thing with textures galore means you have like 4 different charts that you're working through multiple times across the whole thing. Now, mind you, the charts are only 4 rows long. They're not big charts, and it's all just knits and purls. One of them has some twisted stitches in it, like purl through the back loop or knit through the back loop. Not horrible, not complicated, but when you have over like close to 300 stitches, it's a lot of mathing, it's a lot of counting. I've done each chart once. I've only done 4 rows after the ribbing. So I know what the charts are, but I don't know them yet. Like I can't just go, oh yeah, no problem. Well, nobody knits like this. But like as I'm knitting, I can't just knit on it yet, which is a little annoying. But I'm like an inch and a half in. It's going to get there. I need to knit something crazy like 22 inches. And I was hoping to have this done for Christmas. It could happen. It's the 4th day of 20 days. It's for me, it's not for anybody else, but I think it would just be fun to get this big sweater done before 2018 comes. So technically, if I get it done by the 31st of December, I'm totally fine with that too. We'll see what happens. I will keep you as updated as I can. So far, I love working with the yarn. It is a wonderful, wonderful feel to it. I know a lot of people talk about like Brooklyn tweed when they use it and how it breaks. I've never had Brooklyn tweed break on me when I knit with it, so this is a very thin DK weight. It's kind of like a woolen spun. There's 2 very small plies in it, and it has that kind of woolen spun feeling to it, so it could be. Don't quote me on it. I mean, if you pull at it hard enough, you're going to break it. But the way I knit doesn't seem to tension the yarn hard enough to have that happen as I'm knitting, which I think is really comforting. There is a little bit of silk in here too, which technically silk is a fairly strong fiber. I just don't know if it actually adds that much durability to this sort of fiber presentation. But that's neither here nor there. I yesterday went to a little field trip to the Kensington Prairie Alpaca Farm. And they have recently rebranded their logo, and I love it. I think it is so attractive, it's so modern, and it's just wonderful. So I did pick up some stuff because I'm an addict. Think we know that by now. So this weekend, like this past weekend, they have like a little market that happens as well. Like they bring in some different vendors, and you can like try out some of the different food products that they offer. So it's really just a fun weekend. I picked up, this wonderful chunky, let's see, it's a 3-ply alpaca blend yarn. So it is 70% alpaca, 30% merino, and it's definitely, it's a single, and if it's not worsted, it's definitely a bulky. We'll see what it kind of knits up as. This is so soft. And the owner was there, and she's like, oh, you're getting one of the ones that I kind of played around with dyeing. It was the only gray one there. I had to get it. It is so soft. Like, so soft. And I think my plan for this is to make Andrew a hat with it. So I think it'd be kind of fun, kind of looks. And he wants a hat, so he can have one. And then I'm sure there's maybe a little bit extra in here that I can have something. I might as well maybe like a little headband. I don't know, we'll see. So in here, their put up for these are 120 meters per 100 grams. And I have 110 grams, so I have a little bit more than that meterage, but so soft and squishy. I can't stop squishing it. Like I said, never thought I'd be an alpaca person, but we'll talk about that more in a second. With their old labels of their 2-ply alpaca blend, 70% alpaca, 15% merino, 15% bamboo, which I bought last year when I went in the same colorways, but now I think I have enough to make the Farrah shawl by Shannon Cook. It's a worsted weight, it's so soft and squishy, and there's been a lot of people discussing how alpaca is scratchy. I don't know if I just don't have that ability to feel it. Yes, this is a different blend. Don't get me wrong. I know that. But there's 70% alpaca in here. That is a heavy, heavy percentage that I think for anybody to say alpaca is scratchy, I kind of would have felt it already. I don't. To me, I find alpaca feels a little wet. There's something with alpaca and what did I use that also felt kind of wet? I think it was the caramel. There was just that little bit of like, there's something to it that feels like it's very cool. It's very kind of, I don't want to say it, but I'm going to say it, moist feeling. So I don't know if that's just the way that like the fiber is, like it's such a fine fiber that it kind of gives you that like satiny, silky feel to it. I really like it. I cannot wait to knit with this stuff. I've been looking at it quite a bit, the stuff that I've had previously in my stash, and it needs to be a Farrah shawl, which I believe is how you say it. Yeah, so eventually that'll happen. A lady vending at the farm who has, you know, like those melting pot, like essential oil kind of scentsy, smelly things for your home and stuff. Well, she had candles as well, and this one really caught my eye. It's in a little hand-thrown ceramic bowl made in Quenelle, BC. It smells so good. So the smell I got, it's green. It is the cranberry and sweet pine smell, and it smells so good. I think I was mainly there with Lisa and Jess was like, it smells like something from my childhood. To me, I think I pinpoint down what it brings to mind. Party light candles. Did any of you go to like a party light candle evening thing at like maybe your mom's house, mom's friend's house? They were always my mom's friends' events. My mom sold it for a little while too. When those ladies get together and like bring all the candles up, this comes to mind. So good. I can't wait to light it. And then I'm gonna use this little dish as probably like a little notions dish at some point later. So I thought, kind of a handy dandy purchase. And I purchased some tea as well, which I know I'm not supposed to bring tea home, but whatever. I can take it out of the bag. I don't really know why it's in the bag, but it is. So this is from the Flying Leaf Tea Company, and the tea I got is plum crazy. And it has an aromatic blend of juicy plums and warming spices. There's a place just near my house here that sells coffee buns, which are amazing. And they also serve like a plum tea there, and I've never been able to find like a plum tea anywhere. The lady won't tell me where she gets it or what the heck she uses for it, so this is gonna suffice. So good. So in here is oolong tea. That's the main tea base. Cinnamon, plums, licorice root, candied ginger, cherries, currants, rosehip, hibiscus, stevia, cornflowers, cardamom, and flavoring. So, very excited to have this. I think I'll end up drinking quite a bit of it. I think this has, it's 100 grams in here, so it's quite a bit. It's a cool triangle container. I'm kind of excited for it. Yeah, I also picked up a soap, but that's in the bathroom. So, yeah. Oh, what else do I have to talk to you about? The other little fiber craft that I did, and we'll wrap it up fairly quick. So, last year in March, I went to Fibers West, and I picked up a needle felting kit from Nancy Designs. And I pulled it out the other day. I don't know what made me do it, but I did. So I have felted from the kit. Totally gonna have to zoom in on these. 2 little owl nuggets. I love these things. They're so cute. They've been hanging out on the Christmas tree. And then I also did with some roving that I'm supposed to be spinning with, which isn't really happening, a moose. What? Love it. So fun. So I've been looking on like Pinterest, and a lot of people kind of start off some needle felting designs with like a cookie cutter. I have a moose cookie cutter, so I was like, oh, let's try it out. And it worked pretty well. It's definitely less 3D than the owl nuggets are. But I'm kind of obsessed. So let's just zoom in here. Little owl nugget. Oh my god, they're so cute. Another little owl nugget. Oh, aren't they adorable? I love them so much. And then the moose. I kind of made it a little, tried to make it kind of 3D, but so fun. Yeah, so thank you so much for joining me today. I'm going to wrap this up, and we'll see you later. Bye guys.